Hello, everyone. Welcome to They Call Me Perfectly Frank. Please visit my website, IamPerfectlyFrank.com. In case you want a coaching session, please book one on the site. And by the way, if you're interested in purchasing my book, The Man He's Stupid and the Girl She's So Bitch, please either go to my website, IamPerfectlyFrank.com, or feel free to order it on Amazon, either on Kindle or in paperback. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the I Am Perfectly Frank podcast with my guest, Fatin George. Fatin is one of our coaches, and we have the best conversations when I call her to ask her a question about anything, really, and it's so insightful. One of my friends sent me something this morning, and she thought it was fascinating. And this is commonly what we talk about. So on I Am Perfectly Frank, our objective is to help you discover how very cool you are as an individual. And in that awareness, you make a difference in the world. And so what she sent me was people are afraid of themselves, of their own reality, their feelings, most of all their feelings. People talk about how great love is, but that's bullshit. Love hurts. Feelings are disturbing. People are taught that pain is evil and dangerous. How can they deal with love if they're afraid to feel? Pain is meant to wake you up. People try to hide their own pain, but they're wrong. Pain is something to carry, like a radio. Although you don't have to carry it with weight. You don't have to carry pain with weight. You can carry it with observation. Pain is something to carry like a radio. You feel your strength in the experience of pain. It's all in how you carry it. Are you sloppy? Is the suitcase have clothes just thrown in it? Or is everything put neatly away? And when you need it, you can pull it out. Kind of like in my book, The Man He's Stupid and the Girl She's So Bitch. In that book, my goal is to help you understand how men are very linear. They're thinking a thought when they're thinking it. And if that file, as my mother would say, if the file is not of the man, he can't think of nothing. So my mother's point was, even if it's right in front of them, unless you bring it to their attention, they're not going to see it. A broken jar, a beautiful woman, unless somebody or something brings it to their attention. That's true for our feelings too. We don't have to have them out all the time. We don't have to feel them all the time. Although, what if you could go, that's uncomfortable. That's interesting. I'm going to observe that feeling. Yeah, I don't like that feeling. And let yourself feel it, and then let it to just slide away and be in the moment. What if that could happen in your life? That's what matters. Pain is a feeling. Your feelings are part of you. You own reality, your own reality. If you feel ashamed of them and hide them, you're letting society destroy your reality. You should stand up for your right to feel pain. So in that topic, Fatin, this is one we have. Mm-hmm. Okay, we don't always use that same language, but I call you with a struggle, right? Yeah. In the past, you would call me with a struggle, right? Or you would make it available for that person that was having that to bring up the discussion. Right. So how do you feel about that topic, about feeling?
Feeling the pain?
Yeah, whatever it is you're feeling. Like you're pissed off, you're in pain, you're like, oh, my heart is aching, but I don't want people to know because I want to be strong, right?
Yeah, that's a hard one. That's, I think a lot of times when we go through something, we try to, I know I do, I always try to act like everything is okay. And so not to burden other people. Sometimes it helps because you're not thinking about it so much all the time. And the more we dwell on it, the bigger it becomes. Like, so, but then other times when we get it out of our heads and talk it out, just that alone relieves us.
I think the acknowledgement of it, that you're in pain. It's okay. I'll give you a perfect example. Last night, I was privileged to do a book signing at my friend Tina's house. And it was lovely. I mean, it was just really great. And my issue in life has always been, I opened my mouth and I inserted my foot, right? And I cuss like a truck driver. And I'm among all of these women that their children go to a Catholic school. So they're pretty Catholic in that space, right? Well, that's not going to stop me from cussing. And I thought last night was great. But when I got home, I felt the pain of my own insecurity.
Yes.
Of I opened my mouth and I inserted my foot. I let myself feel the pain. I went, yeah, feels crappy. I had a conversation with myself.
Mm-hmm.
I said, Frank, are you sure that you opened your mouth and inserted your foot? Is this not part of being perfectly frank?
Yeah.
I mean, to be perfectly frank is to be who I am. But does that mean that I don't feel or that I don't have these uncomfortable experiences? It was uncomfortable for me. Although it wasn't uncomfortable in that moment. It was uncomfortable when I started to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to have a conversation with myself. I was judging myself. I was finding fault because I felt this way. I made a decision and I had to look back at it and go, well, what did you do? Right? What did you do? The other thing was that I am 4'10", right? And these women were tall, skinny, stunning. I'm telling you, stunning women. Really beautiful. Their energy was lovely. Yeah. They liked their lives. I mean, we all have shtick, right? That's my shtick. My shtick is, that, right? And what we don't realize is that we really do like our lives. And every once in a while, this pain comes up, and maybe every day. And we wrap so much weight around that one thing that shows up. I could have let this bother me all day long.
Right.
But I was able to have the conversation with myself.
Yes.
And if I couldn't, I would call Fatin.
Yeah.
So I would call her with the pain of, my child did this today, and, he didn't want to go to school. And I would put myself into the future. Oh, my God, if he doesn't go to school, he's not going to be successful, and he's not going to be great. And I would call Fatin, and our conversation would be, Fatin would say to me,
I've said so many things to myself and you. I kind of forget which one was.
So, I'm worried about my son not going to school. He struggles with, he refuses to do any homework. Right? That's his pain.
Right.
His pain is, I'm not like everybody else. I'm different. And that bothers him. He thinks everybody else has a sameness about them.
Right.
And the only sameness he's talking about is that they go to school and they do homework.
Right.
But his thing is, I'm not doing homework because his ability to actually write is not there. And so he gets very frustrated. So homework is not a place for him. If they could ask him a question, it might be different. So I get a little worried, right? And I don't want to be worried. My pain is my child going to be fine? Right? And you bring me back to the moment.
Yeah.
You help me realize what?
Well, I think also one thing I came to realize is that with teenagers, especially they're going through that age, if it wasn't the homework, it'd be something else. It would be maybe a person's weight or the way they look, if they're different than somebody else, or they don't have a girlfriend at the time and their friends do. It's always something. So I think what I overlooked in the past is I would always concentrate on what he was bringing to me instead of concentrating on what was going on in him. So it's like this game, I don't know what it's called, but it's at the carnival, and it would pop up, and you have a hammer, and you're popping it, and it goes down. Well, you're happy that one's down, but something else pops up, right? So it's what's under keeps popping up in different ways, and we're trying to solve them by what's popping up.
Right, and not what's under.
But what's under.
Is the under the pain that we just read?
I believe so. I really believe from what I've experienced is that I call it the root. Mm-hmm. If we get to the root of what it is, then everything else, we don't have to pop it down with a hammer. We don't have to hammer it down. It will naturally take care of itself.
So yesterday I had a young lady that I was talking to, and she was very upset with her behavior. She was late, and she really wanted to keep her word, and she thought she was running on time, and she's a naturally late person, but she feels terrible about it because all of her life people told her, that's wrong. You're never going to amount to anything if you're always late, and you have to keep your word, and that's bullshit, okay? And her pain arose in what other people told her. And when I said to her, accept yourself. It's okay to be late. If I know you run late, then I'm going to know how to operate with you. Right. So instead of running from yourself, no, this is how I operate. Yeah. It's neither good nor bad. Right. It's not right or wrong. Right. It's not something you have to carry a weight of and feel all that.
Right.
It's a fact.
But it is something that a lot of people look at somebody showing up late all the time as a disrespect, to that.
But it's not true.
But it's like, they always like say if you go to the doctor's office, they keep you waiting a long time, and it boils up and it's changed. But like you said, it's not right or wrong. But if a person knows, then, like, say my child, my oldest, he runs late all the time. Well, we know that. Right. So we work around that situation where we know he's going to be running late for things. You don't like it, but like you said, it's not something that you carry around with you and make you feel bad about yourself. This is something that, you can work on if you want. But if you're not ready to work on it, then be okay with it and understand that the people that love you, that know you, understand that about you.
Well, I would offer you this thought in that understanding of who we are, that everyone is in pain, even your greatest master, okay? Even this dude, Jesus Christ, okay? He had pain. Right. And he told us about his pain when he had to go for 40 days and 40 nights in the woods to have this conversation and deal with what he knew was coming, okay? Or when he went to the synagogue at 13 years old and got all pissed off because anger is pain. Yes. Right? Yes. And so this place of pain that we choose to hide from, the problem is the hiding. It's not the pain. And the thing is that society has put us in the position. If we were to go back hundreds of thousands of years ago, women were very powerful beings. And women are emotional, and they express themselves. And they were perfectly frank, to be honest with you, at that time. But everybody wanted to sugarcoat it and say it's not okay to feel. And, if someone breaks up with someone, and let's just say divorce, that's an uncomfortable feeling. Getting fired from a job, uncomfortable feeling. Your mother always telling you that if you're always late, you're never going to amount to anything. And then it becomes a struggle. So every day you have this pain. There's simple things that cause pain. And we are afraid to talk about them. And fear in itself is what, Fatin?
Fear in itself is...
We have this discussion just last week about fear and how it stops you.
Oh, gosh. It stops you from everything. And it makes you feel like you're alone. and you are not good enough to do the things that you have desires in yourself to do. And I think a lot of times that's why a lot of us are not living our full lives, our full potentials. Either we come to it at some time in our life if we really want it and we want to figure out why we are the way we are. But if we don't and we just feel like, okay, this is good enough for us, then we sometimes never realize it's fear. We just settled. Yeah, we settled. We don't realize it's fear. But I believe fear is if it's the opposite of truly love. When I love my child, I know they always say, oh, I love my child so much, I'm fearful for that child. Mm-hmm. But sometimes if we go a little deeper and we don't want to be like what society expects from us, really, those are the words society wants us to, I love him so much, I don't want him to do this. Mm-hmm. I love him so much, this is what, I expect from him. But really, real love is freedom for that child, to let them be who they want. And yeah, you're not just going to let them run wild, but you're always going to be there for them when they come to you with questions, and you could gently guide them. But if they're not going to listen and take your advice, forcing it is not going to help. It's going to only make it worse.
I think that's true of every human being.
Yes, even adults.
Even adults. I agree with you. Love is freedom, but love is also faith.
Yes.
It's not just freedom. Right. It's that place to know that everything's going to be fine. Mm-hmm. And so when I have made this observation as human beings that someone passes away and you go, oh, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. What are you sorry for? Mm-hmm. I mean, why are you sorry? Like, how about, it's a sad experience. I'm sure you're going through a difficult time. Mm-hmm. We say, I'm sorry, rest in peace, because we don't really know what to say.
Right.
But society has set up this thing, and it's natural for us to follow the crowd.
Yes.
But all of us are in pain.
Yeah.
Every day. I mean, I hear people go, I stayed up late. Your husband. Mm-hmm. I stayed up late because I was your husband. Mm-hmm. I stayed up late because I was. You're worried. Mm-hmm. You're not in love. Right. You're in fear.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And people do it all the time. You get divorced or you lose your job or your mother yells at you. That pain rises in fear. The fear of, I'm not good enough. I did something wrong. Mm-hmm. I'm bad. Mm-hmm. We spend too much time apologizing for our lives, hey, I'm going to be running a little bit late. Thank you for understanding, instead of, I'm so sorry. Right? I mean, just the tone of I'm so sorry puts a person, if you could observe that, as compared to thank you for understanding. Yeah. It lifts you up and gives you this sense.
Right.
And I think in this light of pain, there isn't one of us that isn't without it. I think the human condition has told us, Buddha has told us, that the human condition is suffering. Mm-hmm. It is. Well, what if we could condition ourselves to be something different? Mm-hmm. What if we could condition ourselves to have that moment of, that's a little uncomfortable, and go, okay, how is that serving me? Like, what is that uncomfortableness doing for me?
Right.
And I've said this in almost every podcast. We need each other. Mm-hmm. And that's what we forget. Instead, when we're feeling in pain, we go and we hide.
Yes, yeah.
Right?
Right.
Instead of, feeling or calling somebody. I think what we need to know as human beings is people look at people like myself and Fatin and think, oh, their life is so nice and it's so wonderful and it is just like yours. And we have these moments that we need someone to pull us from. The thing is, you can make it a whole day, you can make it a week, you can make it a year, or you can reach out to somebody and say, I'm in pain, I need you to hold me. I might not even be sure what my pain is or can give words to it. But rather than hide, wouldn't it be advantageous to go to somebody? Do you know how much courage it takes for a person to be able to go to somebody?
Right. And talk it out.
And talk it out.
And be, open up everything that you feel like maybe you're ashamed of, that maybe your child is going through, and they'll judge you for it as a parent. But I also have found for myself that a lot of times that let me be by myself first and understand why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling and what answers can I get from myself. Because what I try to tell my son, which a lot of times he will come to me, what do you think? What do you think I should do this? I always tell him, you know better than me. You know yourself better than me. So I try to follow that for myself too. I know myself better. A lot of times if I do open up to somebody else, they don't know me as well as I know myself. So it is always good at the points where you feel like you are really lost completely to open up and talk to somebody and let them shake you out of what you're thinking. But there's also the everyday just to go into yourself.
But a lot of people don't have a clue who myself is.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know either. And I still don't know. But it's like, it stops you for a minute. And if you ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Why am I so afraid of this? Just asking the question is kind of brings it down a bit.
I agree.
Because you're saying, you're questioning it. Why am I afraid? So right away, that changes something. And then you go on later on, maybe at a different time to think more about it. But if you could just do that, I realized for myself that changes something about it.
So I have spoken before, and also in my book, The Man, He's Stupid and the Girl, She's So Bitch, I speak of this thing called mind chatter. And we all have mind chatter.
Right.
You know, sometimes it's loud. We can hear our voice talking to ourselves. And usually, in a great majority of people, it's criticism. Oh, man, I wish I didn't do that. Like, I had the mind chatter last night of, man, I opened my mouth and I inserted my foot. And when I had the chance to look back at it, I went, I didn't do anything. What I do?
Right.
I was just being me.
Right.
Are you not okay with you? You are a perfectly frank person. You are. And one-on-one, I love it. But when I get in a group, I get a little overwhelmed. And I realize part of that group thing for me is I am intuitive. And what happens is I have to make sure that I have protected my shell, my energy, so that I don't absorb other people's energies, or not just absorb them, so I don't let them into my shell, right? Not that I don't want to, but in order to be in a group, for me, that energy starts coming in like it's ping pong balls being thrown at me.
Right.
And I need to, know that the ping pong balls are coming in, but they can't hurt me, right? Or I'm not absorbing them. I think that's true for a lot of people. For a lot of other people, they need the crowd. They need the crowd to pull the ping pong balls away from them, right? That's why people like to go out and socialize and so much, because like, ooh, they're setting me free. They're setting me free.
Yeah.
I think mind chatter is only devastating when you're chattering with yourself and blaming and finding fault, and it's negative. Even in that negative, the minute you ask the question, like you said, the minute you ask that question, you are now having a conversation with your own mind chatter. And when you ask yourself that question, you're like, that's interesting. What we also need to learn is, just like math, 1 + 1 is 2, we needed somebody to show us that, right? And I don't think therapy or coaching or having a family is a need. I think it's a desire. I want my life to rise in this place where I feel better about me. I'm okay with me. I can have this mind chatter, and instead of going down the rabbit hole, I can rise up into the ray of sun and climb the rainbow, right? I can say to myself, okay, yeah, last night I may have opened my mouth and inserted my foot, and what if I did something good? Right? What if what I did is for me getting to be more comfortable with people? I mean, I want to connect with people better, more in groups than one-on-one, because I'm good at one-on-one.
Right.
But even one-on-one, if I want to make a new friend, I'm not quite sure how to do that. Like, do I say, hey, you want to have lunch together? Or, I start to observe other people that are doing that. I think that mind chatter that I just said right there about how I want to connect with people becomes a conversation I have with myself. And I have to say to myself, I don't know how to do that. The best way for me to do that is either to ask some people that do it all the time how they do it, and they may not be aware of how they do it, or to just observe them, to be in their presence and just observe them and try on what they do.
Right.
The thing is that people get afraid and they don't allow themselves to feel because they don't want people to see their shortcomings.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think about observing people. What do they say? The people that you want to be most like. First of all, you have to be careful because the saying is the grass is always greener on the other side. So you always think everything is great for them, so you want to be like them, and then you find out, they have worse problems than you have. But I think that's where it comes down to, where they say only we can be the best person we can be. When you try your hardest to be the best person you can be, then you're always going to succeed at that because you're that person. So you know yourself better than anybody else. Like we said, I don't know you, Francis, like you know yourself. So no matter if I want to be as much as I want to be like you, I was not given those gifts. I was given the gifts to be the best person that I can be. So why not use those gifts? Why am I trying to look over here? That's none of my, let's say it's none of my business. When I look over here, I'm not putting myself on my business, on what I need to do. You're already doing what you need to do. Now I need to find out what I need to do to make myself happy. And really, when you concentrate on that, you're always going to succeed little by little by little. You're not going to hold yourself back, because when you try to be somebody else, then like we find out, that person is not what I thought they were. Well, what do? You've already set yourself back, wasted all this time trying to be somebody that really was not the person you thought you wanted to be. But I think trying to be the best person you can be, you're never going to let yourself down.
The other thing I would offer is we tend to stop ourselves and others from doing something, and we get in the way. An example would be, I really want you to come with me to this watch, and rather than allow you to have your space, and you missed an opportunity here because of my need.
Yeah.
What if I said, okay, I get it, do your thing, I can do this alone. And this person allowed me to have that awful feeling of being alone. And what happened for me by having that awful feeling is I cried and I felt sad and I fell asleep. And when I woke up, I felt great.
Yeah.
I felt great. Yeah. I got up, I did something, and something miraculous happened. Even if it was simple as somebody saying, you know what, I love you, somebody, whoever.
Yeah.
We don't realize how we get in each other's way from our needs or our expectations, or you have to behave this way.
Right.
And then this person gets stuck in this box. Okay, we'll say our children. Yeah. No, you have to do your homework. No, you have to go to school. No, you have to follow what society says. And this child's like, but that's not who I am.
Right.
Okay. And what if we had a conversation with them and said, well, are you willing to do the whole school thing? Yeah, I'll do it. Mm-hmm. But can I start school at 9 instead of 8? Okay, that's fair. I don't want to do homework. That's stupid. Why am I spending 8 hours in school? If they can't teach me in those 8 hours, then don't teach me. Let me just do the homework. Right? Can we have a conversation with that child, that 7-year-old, that 8-year-old, that 10-year-old, that 15-year-old? They're trying to figure out how to do this thing called life, and we keep stopping them. And we keep and I think we do that not just with children, with each other.
Well, I think also what's interesting is that I just was writing about this in my journal this morning. It's like, let me stop trying to control other people, mostly my family, my kids, on the thought of, I'm worried about you. I don't want you to do that. I'm concerned about you. You shouldn't be doing that. Or you shouldn't be eating that. It's not good for you. Let's change our diet. Well, everybody pretty much is going to make their own decisions about life. So why don't I just sit back, watch what they want to do, as long as, they're not, I'm not saying like when they're younger, now my kids are older, what they want to do, let them do, and let me enjoy them instead of always fearing for them all the time. Mm-hmm. Because then all of a sudden I'm living a life of fear, but I'm saying it's because out of love. And it just spoils everything. We know fear spoils everything. Mm-hmm. So the same thing with the school. Same thing with the school is, I'm fearful for you. You're never going to get a job if you drop out of school. And we know all that is a lie because we know so many stories of so many people being successful without graduating high school. But let them have the desire in their heart. They have their own way to walk in this world. Mm-hmm. And by us putting our stressors, what we want for them, on top of them, we're only adding on to their stressors. They already have their own stressors, whether we see it or not. So we're taking our stressors and adding it onto them too. So now they've got a double load. Mm-hmm. So I think the best thing we could do is take it off of them and take it off of us and realize that, hey, just like we're okay, we've made it this far, they're going to make it. Mm-hmm. And if they have us to cheer them on instead of always having fear for them, they're going to enjoy the ride better. I always go back to a picture in my mind when my oldest son was very young. He must have been around maybe 5, getting on a Ferris wheel. He was so excited, getting ready. His dad was taking him on, standing next to him, sitting him on a horsey. And the minute I saw that Ferris wheel start spinning and going faster, at first my look to him and his look to me were just complete joy. Oh, he's having such a good time. He's so excited. The minute that Ferris wheel started going faster and faster, I got scared. So he saw the look on my face, and all of a sudden he got scared. And then by the time he got off the ride, he was crying. And then he said, I don't want to go on there anymore. What happened between him going on, feeling so joyful? So, what happened between him going on the ride, getting on that ride? He was so happy. Mm-hmm. And I was so happy for him. And then by the time he got off, he was crying and didn't want to go on anymore. Mm-hmm. So you think about that's kind of like if we think about life that way.
Right. If you let them have their experience.
Their experience,
right.
Not mine.
The outcome may be what you wanted anyway.
Yes.
Which was not to make them go.
Yes.